Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the intellectual people in the Quran as ulul albaab. The word albaab comes from the Arabic root word lub. It refers to the innermost core of the fruit, and it means a sound mind which is free from all vanities or useless thought. Human beings have been blessed with knowledge and intellect. According to a hadith by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Allah did not create a creation more noble than the aql or the intellect. Our mind is an amazing thing, and it must be put to a great use. We have a great Islamic heritage of faith, discovery, invention, intellectual thought, and scientific advancements. But we cannot simply be content with the stories of greatness of the past. We should be nourished by it. We must recognize that we come from a great tradition and we must build on it. We have the intellect, we have the past traditions, and we have the living miracle of Allah, the Quran. Free from vanities means knowing the limits of our own intelligence. We know that the complete knowledge is only with Allah, the Al-Alim, the All-Knowing. Whether we get it or not, a Muslim understands that all knowledge is from Allah. Parts we understand are from Allah, and parts that we do not understand yet are from Allah. None of us has complete knowledge. A specialist in a certain field, for example, doesn't mean he or she knows everything about that field. It just means that he knows more than most people. For example, a highly renowned botanist doesn't know everything that is there to know about the plants. He just knows a lot. The best lawyer in the town would go to an engineer when his wall breaks. The best engineer would go to a doctor when he's ill. A heart specialist goes to an ear specialist when his ear hurts. None of us has complete comprehensive knowledge. Scientifically proven theories of today have been supported and hinted by the Quran thousands of years ago. Interestingly, the theories that do conflict with the Quran, or which people say conflict with the Quran, are actually, a lot of them are based on individual speculation, and they do not have any acceptable proofs to date. For example, we agree with adaptation, and there is scientific proof for that, but macroevolution, or changing from one species to another, is unacceptable. Interestingly, there are no strong scientific evidences available to support microevolution. Let's look at another example, the Big Bang, or a virgin birth of universe. Big Bang theory states that 13 million years ago, out of nothing, and for no particular reason, an entire universe explodes into being. Now, physical laws of science as we know it contradict the Big Bang, happening on its own without any superior power or motive, because of a few reasons. That, as the physics states, order does not come from chaos. When anything disintegrates or breaks or explodes, things scatter and move around. They don't get orderly. Secondly, leaving matter long enough does not create masterpieces. For example, if you leave a monkey long enough on a typewriter, it will not produce a Shakespeare, no matter how long you leave it for. Thirdly, consciousness from unconsciousness is a highly improbable scientific fact. And last, but the most important thing is, virgin birth of a human is not supported by pure hard sciences, let alone the entire universe. However, Islam, on the other hand, teaches us that we have an infinite God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the names or attributes of Allah is that He is Al-Khaliq, the Creator. The word Khaliq comes from the root word khalaqa, which means to measure, proportion, determine, fashion, create, and form a thing. The one who created the first human being, the masterpiece, Adam alayhi salam, without any previous model or inspiration. The one who created Isa alayhi salam, or Jesus, without the presence of any father. Creating a universe out of nothing is no big deal for God. Another important thing is that intelligence actually leads us to Islam. For example, Ibrahim alayhi salam, or Ibrahim, when he was small, remember when we are small, mom and dad tell us to solve our math problem ourselves? Why do they do that? Because we understand better when we work hard to understand ourselves. Ibrahim alayhi salam lived at a time when there was idol worship all around him. By showing him signs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let Ibrahim alayhi salam figure it out by himself and use his intelligence to understand who Allah is. One example is of a marine merchant, and this is an excerpt from the lecture by Dr. Gary Miller. Several years ago, a story reached us in Toronto about a man who was in the merchant marine and made his living at the sea. A Muslim gave him a translation of the Quran to read. The merchant knew nothing about the history of Islam, but was interested in reading the Quran. When he finished it, he brought it back to the Muslim and asked, "This Muhammad, was he a sailor?" He was told no. As a matter of fact, Muhammad ﷺ lived inland in Arabia. That was enough for the seaman. He embraced Islam on the spot. He had been impressed by the Quran's description of underwater darkness within the sea as covered by waves upon which are waves, over which are clouds, which is in Surah An-Nur, Surah number 24, verse 40. And he perceived its similarities to a storm at the sea. He realized that whoever had written this description must have known what it was like and cannot have just imagined it. Another example is Dr. Maurice Bucaille. He discovered actually religion through science. Dr. Bucaille was a medical doctor, a specialist in surgery, an enthusiast of Egyptology, and later a student of Quran. He was called into Cairo, Egypt, to examine a corpse from one of the pyramids, and on deep study and examination he found that the body had died for drowning. He found that it could actually be the body of Pharaoh at the time of Moses. He was amazed when he was told that the Quran actually mentioned 1400 years ago that the body of Pharaoh would be preserved as a sign for the mankind. He wondered how this was possible. No one could have known about this earlier without the advanced scientific knowledge and instruments they had only now. This led him to an objective study of the Quran. He was looking for the degree of compatibility between the Quranic text and the data of modern science. To go deeper and to properly understand it, he studied the Arabic language. Once he examined the text very closely in Arabic, he started keeping a list of things, and at the end, he had to acknowledge the evidence in front of him. The Quran did not contain a single statement that was assailable from a modern scientific point of view. Similar studies have also been done by Dr. Gary Miller from Canada and Zagul El-Nagar from Egypt. Carl Sagan, a well-known American astronomer, says, "It is far better to grasp the universe as it really is than to persist in delusion, however satisfying and reassuring." The quote is true, absolutely true, but the question is, how do we know what is delusion and what is reality? Let us look at a small video. Now in this video clip from a TED Talk, a scientist flies a robotic bird. The bird can't land properly and smoothly yet, however the brilliant scientific achievement gets a lot of well-deserved recognition and applause. In this video we see people are amazed by a robotic bird. We agree and respect the scientist, and we definitely should, but think about this. Despite hundreds of hours of research and use of sophisticated science and technology, this bird cannot fly as high or as far as a real bird. It cannot even land properly and has many other limitations. However, it is still amazing. But how many birds has Allah created? They can do everything better than this bird. Do we ever see people looking at a real bird like this, clapping and giving standing ovations? Perhaps because we don't appreciate the greatness and perfection of Allah's creation. We have just started thinking that universe can create itself. If we stop and look at the detail and perfect design of the creation of Allah, such a thought would never enter our mind. We would observe Allah's creations and say, Subhanallah, how perfect is Allah. Let us imagine an ocean. A beautiful, majestic, amazing ocean. The same ocean looks and feels different at different shores. The Atlantic Ocean might look very different from the British side as compared from the American side. Yet at both places people are looking at the same ocean. Some people go to the beach and enjoy the beautiful sun and sand. Some take a swim and play in the water. Others go scuba diving and are amazed by the amazing beauty of underwater life. Still others go fishing and use it as a means of food and livelihood. There are ships that are able to travel from one place to another through the ocean, and there are submarines that can go deep into the ocean and find more unhidden treasures. Each person who goes to the ocean and studies it comes back with a different, unique, and beautiful treasure and a new understanding. But the beauty and majesty of the ocean is not restricted to the gems that a few people have discovered so far, or the instruments used for studying the ocean, or even the role that the ocean plays in somebody's life. In fact, we know that even with all our studies and research from the very beginning of the humankind, we have discovered less than 3% of the entire ocean. Comparing science to religion is like comparing a submarine to the ocean and then saying, is the submarine compatible or contradictory to the ocean? It's like comparing an amazing book to a whole massive library. Can we compare a faculty in the university to the whole university? Comparing science with religion is as futile as comparing a head to the whole body. It's like saying, is the earth contradictory or complementary to the whole solar system? There is absolutely no comparison. The problem with making such a comparison is that to bring them next to each other, we have to either overinflate the value of one or marginalize the value of another. Science tells us the way that things work. It explains how Allah has designed this world and its creations. It is just one of the many ways of getting closer to God. It is one part of our life. Islam, on the other hand, is a complete and holistic way of living, thinking, and believing. There is no aspect of life which is not covered by Islam. It encompasses all faculties, all art forms, and all sciences. Islam is the last divine message, and Allah has provided it with characteristics that make it applicable everywhere and at all times. How much we extract from it varies from time to time and people to people. Like the Quran is full of gems and beauty. A poet, for example, finds amazing palindromes, um, sublime messages, and highly precise use of words. A psychologist finds awesome insights into the human psyche. A parent reads it and finds amazing parenting advice that is independent of time and age. A manager finds a personal development and leadership course. A historian studies the Quran and rediscovers history. A public speaker or a storyteller finds amazing storytelling techniques. A mathematician finds mind-boggling numerical wonders. A doctor finds several medical wonders. An economist finds principles and ways to deal with money. A sociologist finds amazing insights into the societies and culture. Similarly, a scientist finds several scientific facts in the Quran, some that he knows about already, some that he is challenged to research more about. Some of the research might be proven true in his own lifetime, and some might remain ambiguous in his own lifetime, but might get proven in another time and generation. The verses of the Quran are called an ayat, an individual verse of the Quran. The word ayat in Arabic has several meanings. It means a sign that points towards something. It's a miracle, an indication, an example. Each of these meanings hold a special message for us. It tells us that every ayat of the Quran gives the reader a hint where to look and then states that one should find more about it. Unfortunately, this is the kind of study that Muslims have abandoned since a long time. The Quran is a perfect place to begin studies of science, or of any other discipline for that matter. Religion, the argument of compatibility or contradiction is an illogical argument. Religion encompasses science and everything else in life. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, we will show them our signs in the universe and then within their own beings until it will become manifest to them that it is the truth. But is it not sufficient concerning your Lord that He is over all things a witness? Thank you so much. As I conclude, I would like to mention all good is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Alim, all-knowing, and the Khabir, all-aware, the creator of heavens and the earth and everything in between. Any shortcomings in this study are from myself. Jazakallah.